Hello, my beautiful women, and welcome to our monthly Unapologetic Woman Hour. I am excited to have this conversation today with a dear friend and mentor, Ashley, about that topic called unapologetic. As many of you know, I've been running these Unapologetic Woman Hour conversations for this last year because I'm on a mission to create a safe container for women to feel like they can fully express themselves unapologetically. And for me, that is being in a safe container, tapping into your authenticity, and feeling like you can truly be heard in that full expression of yourself. And it's been a really great honor to have all these amazing conversations throughout the year. And today, we are diving deep into the topic of unapologetic leadership. And I wanted to have Ashley. She was the first person on my list to talk about leadership, as Ashley was one of the people that really helped ignite a lot of my leadership qualities that I am expressing now currently in my life and in my business. And she was gracious enough, even from just becoming a new mama, to have this conversation with us today. So I want to welcome in Ashley and just have you share a little bit about who you are, who you serve, and what does being unapologetic mean to you?
Well, Tracy, thank you so much for having me here today, and welcome everyone. I'm so excited to be here, and I love watching what has kind of unfurled from things that we were kind of initially talking about when we were working together too. So it's just super cool to see what you're up to in the world, and thank you for how you're serving this community. My name is Ashley Burnett. I am the founder of StrongBodyLove.com, which is a women's leadership coaching company and retreat company for women entrepreneurs and leaders. And we're out in Petaluma, California. Tracy's been out here a couple of times at our space, out in the 22 acres of the Petaluma, kind of Sonoma County countryside. We're waiting for rain out here. We're waiting for rain right now. Looks like we have 6 more days. But it's just a beautiful space to gather women together and to talk about what it looks like right now to be a woman influencer and leader as we move into 2020. And so when I think about what it means to be an unapologetic leader, what comes to mind is just, one of my big slogans is like, be who you are. It's like absolutely showing up in your business and your leadership, what you stand for as just a woman in our society today is kind of courageously stepping forward and being who you are at the root, at the core of who you are, without apologies. And it's one of, I think it can be one of the most difficult things to do, to get out of our own way, to step forward in that way. But when we get the right support, when we get the mentorship that we need, when we have the tools, the coaching tools, to get out of our own way and then to step forward and speak our truth, or just embody who it is that we truly feel like we are in this world, what we're meant to do on this planet, and we're showing up in that fully. There's nothing more empowering than that, right? So it's like, we're here, we have this one wild ride that we know of, at least now, on this planet, and it's like our duty as a human being to live out the birthright of what we're meant to do. So whatever those desires are within you, whatever those that calling is, whatever makes you who you are, it's our birthright to live that out to the fullest and fully rock that out for our communities. So I think that's part of what it means to be an unapologetic leader. It's like stepping forward for what we believe in, creating a positive impact in the world, but doing that in your own unique way, not trying to fit into any mold of, what someone's telling you you should be doing or you think you should be doing. It's doing it in a way that is truly in alignment for you, and what I like to say, letting your freak flag fly as you're changing the world for the better. So
yes, I love freak flags.
Yeah, baby, let's let the freak flag fly.
Yeah, so Ashley, I would love for you to share. You shared a little bit about your business, but I know obviously your story from working with you, but what got you into doing Strong Body Love and working into this business that you're running for leadership and tapping into your personal as well professional identity as just a leader and being yourself and authenticity? Was there things that led you to this path that you wanted to share with my tribe?
It's like, how do you not go down this like long winding road here? But yeah, absolutely. I think my journey to become, so I started out, I'm from the Midwest originally. So my journey to this it's been a long winding road. I live, like I said, out in Sonoma County, just an hour north of San Francisco. And, but I'm from a small town in Illinois called Quincy, Illinois. And my mom was my dance teacher and my dad was my theater director. And I majored in dance in college, and definitely around age 24, 25 was getting this calling to move out of Illinois and to the Bay Area. So I'd say that like one of the biggest first leaps that I took was to move cross country by myself. And that was a big first step. And then putting myself into massage school, understanding, because at the time I was choreographing, dancing professionally, and teaching. And I had started kind of influencing, I guess, or leading as I was teaching and choreographing, right? So I started teaching in college when I was given a TA-ship as an undergrad. And then kind of, went on to continue teaching dance and running my own dance company. And that was kind of like the start of my entrepreneurial path. And then I went into massage therapy school when I moved to San Francisco because I knew I couldn't teach dance sustainably long-term. My mom, I watched her burn out big time. She was my dance teacher and she did it for 25 years or something like that. But I mean, I knew for myself, I wouldn't have even been able to hang that long with it. And I knew I would have probably burned myself out with it. So went into massage therapy, started that business, ran a successful massage therapy practice for 10 years. But there was this moment where I was like, I had gone from teaching large groups of people dance into this space of being quiet with one person, right? And Tracy, I know you know it because you've done massage therapy work too. And I had this moment of like feeling this calling for more, to be speaking out more. At that time, I was struggling with hereditary gallbladder disease, and I had my first gallbladder attack. I was about 28-ish at that time, and had 7 attacks that year, and was on the table at San Francisco General to get my gallbladder removed. And at literally my now husband, we'd been dating for like 3 months. He flew out for the surgery, all this stuff. And at the last moment, I was like, I can't do this. I can't take this organ out of my body. So I literally had another small like mole removal surgery that had to happen that same day. So we did that, but I didn't do the other surgery. And had this change of heart and was like, I want to heal this organ naturally via diet and lifestyle shifts. So that was the moment where I was like, I want to become a health coach. And that was the moment when I went into the coaching, got into the coaching industry. And you went to IIN too, right, Trace? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Institute for Integrative Nutrition, enrolled into that, started doing health coaching work, kind of blending in with my my existing massage therapy practice. I was still dancing professionally at the time. And then, I have this moment of like, holy shit, I have too many paths going on right now. I got to just focus on one path. So that's when I really started to focus on the coaching world. And I launched my health coaching practice, was super passionate about it, doing online cleanses, running all these, private programs and online programs. But what happened pretty rapidly was that people then started to see that I was doing that in the coaching industry, and were like, well, how did you do that? Can you help me to launch my business? And so to come back full circle, basically what happened was it because of the demand, women wanted to know how I did it. They also wanted to build their confidence up to be able to get out there and speak up about what they believed in. And it just turned into this business and leadership, coaching and retreat leading business, organically. And I have to bring this back to, and now what's really cool is that I get to weave in all these aspects of all the pieces that I love into this business, right? Tracy, you've experienced it. You've come out here. We do dance parties. We do, I've had you come in and talk about health. Like we weave in, we have body workers at the retreats and events that we are having. So all these pieces of me that I have kind of, all these pieces and paths of me have now kind of come into this business. And the work that we do now with the Solstice Sisterhood Leadership Program, which is I can talk more about it later, but it's like about a year-long business and leadership mastermind, is that we're really looking at it in a really holistic way. And we're working with cycles and seasons of nature and kind of creating a more holistic approach. But that approach didn't look like this linear path for me. But what I can do is kind of attest the desire for support around business and leadership work back to my own family lineage. And so I mentioned my mom was my dance teacher. So my mom was an entrepreneur, and she, her entire adult life has mostly been an entrepreneur, and ran a very successful dance studio, then put herself back into school in her late 40s to become a master's in dance, and continue to teach dance at performing arts high schools around the country. And then also opened up a shop, like a kind of a retail shop as well. So I have that as my mom, my role model. And then before that was her mother, who, this is where it really gets into the blood, I feel like. My grandmother was one of the first female optometrists in the Chicagoland area. Her husband died 2 days before her first child was born, which set her into labor, and had to then raise my aunt as a single mother, in the 40s. And she was basically at this precipice of, what do I want to do? And she decided to put herself back into school as a single mom in the 40s in Chicago, for optometry school. And then once in all of her, the folks she was in school with, all men, and then reopened her late husband's optometry practice. And again, one of the first female kind of optometrist business owners in the Chicagoland area. And I think the first woman to fit for contact lenses in the US. So it was kind of that story that made me realize, like, this is my lineage. My grandmother paved the path for me to do this work, to be an entrepreneur. And my mom also. So it's my birthright. It's my duty to be, I think, to just step forward as much as I can as an entrepreneur and leader. And to kind of courageously go down that path. Now, what I want to do differently and what I'm choosing and attempting to do differently than they did is to go down a path where I have a more sustainable business where I'm not burning out. Because my mama, bless her heart, went to drink alcohol and things like that to kind of deal with her. And not that I don't ever drink alcohol, but I mean, we're talking consistently, and that was like her medicine, right, to get her through all of that. And eventually she kind of wildly burned out, divorced my dad, left my hometown, all that kind of stuff, right? So my intention is to create something where I'm not having to medicate with that I can try to create a more holistic business where I'm not having to work full time. I have space for breaks, and I can link my work up with the seasons and cycles of nature so that I can avoid that burnout, and share that wisdom also that I've learned from my mentors around ritual and ceremony and working with the Wheel of the Year into our business model. So that's what my intention is. I think we didn't have the tools, thank God, goddess, that we've had our paths paved. A lot of us have had our paths paved by our ancestors and those who have come before us. Some of us have not. We're the first ones going to school and creating businesses and all of that. For myself, I have so much respect for my family lineage, but we have to look at, how do we want to do it differently and better than them? And likewise for our children, that they get to do the same thing, right? So anyway, that's the long-winded answer to your question about my path and how did I get here. But I feel super blessed to be on this journey, and I'm excited for what 2020 holds for women in general in terms of leadership. So it's exciting to see what's going to happen with all that.
Yeah, and I thank you for sharing all of that. And I asked you to share your story because I think it's a wonderful example of the progression of what leadership is really about. And I loved that you brought it back to your lineage, because I find it really important that we see how our family that have come before us have in some level paved the way, whether it was the way we never ever want to do things and helps us to tap into how we do want to, or using certain tools that have led us there as well. I mean, my parents are both entrepreneurs. My mother didn't even go to college and got top position in Blue Cross Blue Shield and gave it all up to start a business with my father. And they showed me the ways to have persistence and to never give up.
Yeah.
And it's interesting you say, and it's why I really wanted to have this conversation with you, because I think it could have just been that generation, and it could be how lineages work, is they had a lot of burnout as well. My mom in particular has had a lot of burnout, and it's been something that I've really had to work on. What is my identity as a leader now in this time? And not how can I just become my mother, but how can I use my lineage to infuse who I am? And I think you express that in a very authentic and powerful way, is that we get to use everything that's come before us as tools. Not that we have to push them away, judge them, shame them, or try and replicate them. That they are, as you mentioned, they're tools. And the biggest thing I have found in leadership now is I think a lot of us are waking up to the burnout that doesn't need to exist. It doesn't have to exist. I always got this message, and maybe it was more the baby boomer industry, or I'm not really certain, that working hard was stressful. Mm-hmm. And I always linked working hard to being stressful. And so what did I do a lot in my 20s and even into my early 30s? I didn't allow myself to be successful financially or in my business because there was a part of me that didn't want to be that stressed. And I had to really sit with all that once I got to that moment of resistance. And it finally, we've all had those experiences, right, where it's almost like the pressure cooker is about to explode, and realize, oh, I don't have to be stressed out and work hard. Like, I can work hard at what I love to do. It doesn't have to be stressful. And it's what I think you've done really wonderfully. And I'd love your thoughts on this. It's about creating containers. It's about making sure that we have tools, strategies, people, environments to create a container for us to function optimally in our leadership position. And so I'd love your thoughts on that, about creating containers. And that could be maybe setting boundaries or knowing how to have the right support or knowing what tools and strategies work for you. But I have found to be an optimally functioning leader now requires some level of container for that leader to function.
Yeah, well, I'll get to that in just a second. I just want to touch in on this idea of the burnout piece again, because I think that this is what we're really onto as kind of a next wave of feminine leadership, is that we're understanding that we as women, we can't do it. We could try, but if we want to see the real change that we want to see in the world, I believe that we can't do it the way that that a man's world has been designed. There's this like hardcore, blood, sweat, tears, all day long, burning the candle at both ends, working till the wee hours of the morning, 12, 15-hour days, all this stuff. We're not designed the same way. And so we have to start to understand that more feminine practices is really like self-care practices. That's a real radical act of feminine leadership, to prioritize those pieces, to really truly put your oxygen mask on first. I mean, I have a 3-month-old baby at home. There are moments when I know he needs me, but if I have to go pee, I'm going to go pee. I'm going to go pee before I go and get him, because if I don't go pee, then I'm sitting there for 30, 45 minutes, miserable, only thinking about I have to go pee and not being fully present with him, right? So it's like, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to give ourselves the nourishment and truly the self-care that we need, so that we can be able to show up fully for the communities that we're serving. And we can affect much larger change, and I think much more like quick acting change if we're approaching our leadership in that way.
Yeah.
And this isn't just something for women to learn about. I think men can learn from this as well. It's this idea of tapping into the feminine a little bit more, where as an example, I have a friend who was working 80 plus hour work weeks, a guy friend of mine. And one day, I mean, he was obviously getting really to that spectrum of full burnout, gained a ton of weight, all this other stuff, miserable. And I think cold turkey one day was like, nope, I'm done. I'm going to a 40-hour work week. Well, what happens? He gets a promotion, he gets another promotion, he loses a ton of weight, he's prioritizing his self-care, and he's now managing and running, I think, co-owning a yoga business on top of the other stuff he's doing. And it's just that, to me, that's where we need to head. We need to understand that this is the next way of feminine leadership, and for us to avoid burnout actually is giving more, is replenishing more, and it's how we're going to be able to see the change happen. So there's that piece that I wanted to touch on before we moved into
it's a great thing to touch on. And you see some of this in, say, some certain European countries where they're not working all these massive hours and they're actually have more productive, like there's more productivity.
Yeah.
And I was just listening to a local radio station here in Orlando that there was a company here locally that for 90 days tested out giving people 3-day weekends, not adding more hours during those other days, but they got the normal work hours they had, and they ended up getting more accomplished by giving their entire staff 3-day weekends instead of 2-day weekends. So there's something to be said about what you're sharing, and it's true. It's not all about this go. It's being present and tapping into that. So thank you for accentuating everything about burnout. We could have a whole conversation about burnout.
And then that does kind of come into the container piece, which is just that, yeah, we need containers as women and as entrepreneurs, and to have not only the right support system in place, which I think is a huge piece. We're coming back to community, to understanding the importance of supportive community. If we look back at our ancestors' tribes where everyone had their role and had their place, and they were all working together, many hands make light work, that idea, right? So that's part of why I lead groups and why I have created this mastermind, which is, really this opportunity for women entrepreneurs to understand that they're not in this whole venture alone. As a solopreneur, as you know, it can feel very isolating to be trying to create something on your own. And so to be able to have the, these different visions from different brilliant minds that are also kind of working on similar things as you, it is a huge bonus. And in fact, I think is a part of how women entrepreneurs can get that exponential growth happening way, way, way quicker than if they were trying to do it themselves. Now, this also goes for, I think, people that are just working on personal growth work. In our groups, we're doing both at the same time, but if someone's not working a business and just really wants to deepen her kind of personal growth work, how to do that. Yeah, carve space, find time for yourself to dive into that solo journey, but then open up to receiving support in a group, in a container. And part of the importance of that is having accountability.
Yeah.
Having something that's built that then you're going to show up for. Whereas if you're just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do that personal growth thing, or read that book, chances are you're not going to do it, not going to prioritize it. I can't tell you the amount of times people sign up for just a straight up like long-term online course that they've never shown up to. Then when they show up for something where they have to like show up in person part of the time, or there's a small group where, they're going to get pointed out if they're not showing up. That is I feel like the way to go in terms of getting the right support. But there's so many other containers if we're talking about that, and kind of coming back to the time piece. There's the container of creating your ideal day, week schedule. I know we've talked a lot about this, Tracy, based off of your own like realistic situation needs and time of year that you're in, right? So that's even the form of a container in and of itself, is to create, your times of when am I carving out that white space to drop into self-care, or if I'm a creative entrepreneur, when am I carving out that white space just for dreaming and brainstorming and allowing for new ideas to come through? When is my sacred time off of this business so that I can really truly re-nourish, replenish myself? And when am I showing up? When am I online like you are right now? I'm showing up for your community. So that's another form of a container. I'm curious what else, comes to mind for you for containers too.
Well, I like what you mentioned about the community. I have just come to find in my years and years of doing this that friend power wins over willpower any day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
And when I am in a community where I'm feeling supported, and also I want to be in integrity in myself to be in integrity for others, that it is powerful. It helps me to step up to the plate more. It helps me to really get committed to my time. And it really does that. When I find my way in community, it can help me to stay much more grounded and supported. So to me, that's one of the biggest containers that I need to make sure that I'm focusing on operating as I'm more of a solopreneur.
Yeah.
Is that I am constantly surrounding myself in community that is supportive. Now, I also, as a person, I need that in certain ways, and making sure that I have that as well is very, very important to me. And I have found the more that I've stepped into a leadership position, it's interesting, the more my personal stuff comes to the surface.
Right. Yeah.
What I have found this last year, just from circumstances of a lot of loss that occurred with people, and then with a few other circumstances, that I needed to enhance my leadership by asking for more help. And that I have found, and I would love your thoughts on this, of what does it mean to ask for help and also be seen as a powerful leader? And what are your thoughts on that? Because for me, things have changed exponentially when I finally let go of that I have to do it all on my own, or I don't want people to see me weak or a specific way. And that when I've been able to authentically ask for help, shared with my people as a leader what I want to share with, but creating boundaries and having other healers and other leaders to support me, how my leadership is actually amplified. My income has started to amplify. My visibility has amplified. All this stuff is amplified when I, as a leader, have been more willing to ask for help and be supported myself. And I'd love your thoughts on that and what you think about stepping up and enhancing leadership and asking for help at the same time.
Yeah, it comes back to, for myself, I can give 2 examples. The first one is when I first started creating this business 8 years ago. I tried to do everything myself. I built my own website. I was scheduling my own clients. Which was like gut wrenching, and like wanted to tear my hair out all the time. Everything, marketing, everything, trying to coach myself. Like all of this stuff, right? And I was getting nowhere real fast. I was just coming up against one, roadblock after the other. And then when I made that leap into receiving coaching for the first time, and it was so scary because the investment, I hadn't done all my money mindset work at that point. The investment was so large, it felt so big for me. And I remember being huddled on the floor, like crying like a little baby, thinking about making that investment to receive the support. But wow, what radical changes happened. And over, a couple years later, I went on to double, triple my income from getting not only the support of like a coach, but also the community that came with that experience. And not only did I go on to, obviously bring in more income, but to be able to create community, not feel alone, have fun along the way, have something to look forward to show up for, and to get these creative ideas, was just priceless. So, and I was able to make back that initial investment in 1 month, actually, because I was able to see bigger than I would have ever been able to see, trying to do it myself. So that's one story I can share around receiving support. And the second, and I get to witness that all the time, the incredible community that happens from the groups that I'm supporting too. And Tracy, you were in this community for a couple of years, and likewise, there's women in the Solstice Sisterhood now who are stepping in for a second, third time, and it's just really cool to see the continued support of the community, and to watch, the kind of feeling of family that happened too, when we're really working together and supporting each other towards our bigger picture visions and missions, and kind of heart-driven work. The other thing is I'll just share from being a new mama, is likewise, I think that it's easy for a lot of us, especially new moms, to get into this place where they're feeling like they don't want to burden folks with asking for certain support. But let me tell you, when you're in that initial stage of, initial postpartum period, you gotta have that support in place. You're in no place at all to be trying to, your body's healing. You're, trying to feed and get to know this new little being, and you don't have time to put, food on the table, right? So I read a couple books before this all happened. One was called The First 40 Days, and the other was called The Fourth Trimester, and it was the importance of creating this beautiful kind of fourth trimester cocoon period to be able to receive nourishing meals, support from your community, help in the garden, asking your partner for support, all of that kind of stuff. And it's made the world a difference. For me, I didn't have to go back to work full time, go drive into the city and work 40 hours a week at 3 months or any of that stuff. However, I had to show up and lead a retreat here at the space 6 weeks after he was born. There's no way in hell I would have been able to do it had I not, fully prioritized. I didn't leave my bed for 3 weeks, or my bedroom basically for 3 weeks. Had I not asked for support and got myself prepared to receive that support, and allowed for myself to be in a more kind of open, receptive, vulnerable space, because that's truly where I was. So again, as we move forward unapologetically with our leadership as women, we have to learn to receive, and that us asking for that support and being open to receiving that support is in actuality a more radical act of leadership. Again, putting the oxygen mask on your face first, that whole idea. And I know ultimately my body was able to heal quicker. I was able to get a more rest because I was training. But no, I asked my husband, and I got this advice from my one of my midwife friends who taught the birth class that I took. Ask him at 2 weeks out to go take little man out at 6 a.m. after that 6 a.m. feeding, and give you a couple hours of uninterrupted rest. And we're still doing that now over 3 months later. And it's what's made all the difference for me to be able to get that extra couple of hours. Ask for what you want. Gather your community to support you. We need to be in a place where we're fearless about asking for support. And it truly makes all the difference. And again, it's how we're going to see sustainable leadership and sustainable change if we're all collectively asking for support and supporting each other along the way.
To me, it was transforming for me this year to life pretty much made me ask for help, and to see the abundance that occurred from me being open, authentic, and honest about receiving help, and to see how much more optimally functioning I was as a leader, as a person, just in many different ways. And I'm still, learning and weaving in and out of what that looks like in different relationships in my life. But I really saw dramatic results this year in my leadership of asking for help. And I can pinpoint it to that. I can pinpoint it to, that month was, I was raw, vulnerable. There was a lot of crap going on. And I was so open and honest that I needed support. I found the support that I needed, and I was able to double my income that month. It was just, right? It was amazing to be able to see. And anybody that's out there listening to this, and I think what you said before was great, whether you are an entrepreneur or you're not, we all in the world is literally asking us women to stand up and be seen in a leadership role, whether that's in your community, whether that's in some organization you're a part of, whether it's in your business, is that when we can ask for support, use our, as you mentioned, use our lineage, use what we've learned, use other people, be able to be with where we're at, then that's where that ripple effect of change begins to occur. And that we all are on this journey, but we're meant to be on it together.
Yeah.
We really are meant to be on it together. And that to be in a leadership position requires people. It's not a solo gig. And I think it's phenomenal that you shared your story and I was able to kind of relate to it, where also every day don't look the same, every year don't look the same. You're in a new transition now in motherhood, and you were in a transition before of moving into coaching and then moving into leadership. We get to continually learn what it is to step up as a leader and as an unapologetic woman in each phase. And that's the great thing, is this is what I think would be a great way to kind of bring it full circle, is how to embrace the change instead of resist the change, because the change is allowing us to just level up that leadership and bring us new lessons. And that really is one of the only things we can be guaranteed is things will change. Nothing is the same. And I have found for myself personally, I've witnessed it in clients, I've witnessed it in family and friends. When you embrace the change, whether, it's being comfortable and uncomfortable, but embracing the change really can allow more leadership, more authenticity, more light to shine through. And I think that would be a great way to bring it full circle, is what does it mean to you to embrace change, and how is that linked to the progression of leadership in your life, in your business, and in a whole?
Well, you just said it. Everything's impermanent, right? So if we can't embrace change, we can't grow. We literally can't grow another cycle, right? So that's why I love working with the Wheel of the Year, which is this ancient, annual cycle of seasonal festivals of the sun. You all know them, solstices and equinoxes, and then also looking at the cross-quarter festivals in between those, which are the exact halfway points between solstice and equinox. And as we get into the darker months, we're in the darker months right now, season of Samhain moving into winter. A lot of people resist this time of year, this time of the darkness and the changing of the seasons, right? But if we don't embrace the change of that shift into the darker months where the leaves fall off, if the tree doesn't embrace that and just keeps, it's not going to grow another ring. It's not going to grow another cycle, right? And the roots literally of the tree are taking in the most nourishment in winter than of any other time of the year. So for us, I love to turn to nature for that. It's like nature doesn't not embrace change. Nature is always embracing change to get to the next cycle. We are part of that. And if we don't embrace change, we literally can't grow. We can't grow to the next phase. And so I like to look at that as around our personal growth and our leadership too. We have to understand that, everything is impermanent, and we have to just start to roll with, right? Like today, this didn't work for us to be on Facebook Live. So we just rolled with it and we shifted and we changed it up and we went on to Zoom. Okay, here we are. We're having this conversation still. So I think it's imperative for us to embrace change, to be able to move forward, change, grow, and create the positive impact that we're so wanting to see with the world, and so that we can create when we do allow for ourselves to open up to the change and the shifts and the impermanence of it all.
Yeah.
And that's where it becomes fun, right? Because then once
you're alive, you're being present.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're a slightly older version of ourselves now than we were when we hopped on this call. Change already occurred.
That's right.
That's where being present is. And that's where pleasure and bliss and all these things that people say they want. I want to feel peaceful. I want to feel joyful, bliss. It's in the presence.
Yeah.
Present that we can experience it.
So good. Yes.
Yeah. So I want to just close it in a way that feels grounded. If there are one or two takeaways from this conversation, or things that you always want to make sure that people remember about unapologetic leadership, about the conversation we just had, what might they be for you? Whether you want to bullet point them or just explain to you what are those things to have people take away from our conversation today?
When I think about unapologetic leadership, and again, how we started this call, it's all about being who we are, taking a strong stand for what we believe in, and moving forward in our lives from that space, from our mission, right? Mm-hmm. I would invite all of you on this call to sit down, and especially as we move into this most potent year of 2020, to get really clear on what do I stand for? You know, a lot of the work that we did together, Tracy, and that we start off with in any of the programs that I do, is to look at, you know, what are we taking a strong stand for in this life? So literally asking yourself, what is that? What do I take a strong stand for? What is my philosophy on life and leadership? How do I want to show up in the world? How do I want to lead? Yeah. And what is my big mission? And getting really clear on your why, of why you want to show up in that way, or why you're doing your business in the way that you're doing it. When you get clear on your mission and your why, and you let that be the driving force for your life's work and the way you're showing up in the world, there's no other way to be than to unapologetically be yourself, right? And to unapologetically lead in that way. So it's like, get really clear on what you stand for, because when all the other things want to kind of push you out of the way of doing all of this, all the fears, all the doubts, all the shoulds, all the limiting beliefs, all of those things want to kind of take us away from doing and taking action and getting the support, receiving the support, all of that kind of stuff, creating the containers. All those fears and doubts get in the way from actually doing that. When we get back into our why, into our mission, into what we stand for, into our philosophies, then we can let that be the driving force, and we get out of our own way, and we can lead with strength and with unapologetic strength.
Yeah.
So one of the practices I love to do, and especially at this time of year as you're going inward into the darker months, and for those of you that do run businesses, you know, are starting to think about, well, what are the new things that I'm birthing into the world in 2020? You know, what a big year this feels like. It's to start going into those areas and into your core values, all of that kind of stuff, and pouring that into the work that you do and letting that be the driving force for your leadership.
Yeah, and I think we could even bring it back to the trees, as you mentioned, is they're rooted, and the roots are their why, and they adapt, but they don't lose their roots. And so I think it's a great way to close this, is it really is tapping into your why. And if, you know, my why now is this self-expression, this unapologetic self-expression. And authentically listening and authentically expressing. And that has helped me to pivot when I need to pivot, adapt when I need to adapt, ask for help when I need to ask for help, set the containers and the boundaries that I need to do. Because as you said, it's my driving force. And people out there listening, that just didn't happen all of a sudden. It was me doing this thing called life and then figuring it out more and more each day. And I'm excited for any women that see this video, please comment about any ahas you had, insights, any appreciations, as well as any questions for us. I'll be having this on my Facebook page. I'll tag Ashley in it so that if people do have questions, make sure you tag her. I'll keep an eye on it as well so that we can keep this conversation going. So it isn't just this one moment of us talking right now, that it is creating that ripple effect. And it's a perfect time to do it. We're moving into the end of a year, into a new year. 2019 1/9 is an ending year. We're into a 2020, this beginning year. It's a great time for everyone, not just women, to tap into this unapologetic leadership and tapping into your deep why. And it's a great time to start to have conversation and start to move with the rhythm, because we're moving into that crazy time of year, which is the holiday season. And how can we use Mother Nature to keep us grounded? It's great. So thank you for sharing that. It's a wonderful tool to really keep us sane right now in the midst of all the things going on in society.
Find your foundation. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ashley, is there a way for people to get to know you more, or any free gift or anything that you want to share with anyone so they can be in your world a little bit more?
Yeah. So again, the website is strongbodylove.com. And again, we're supporting change makers and women entrepreneurs in really getting their work out on larger visibility platforms and getting the work out to more people that need to hear your message. So, and the way that we also do that, like I said, is working with the cycles and seasons and working with ritual in that process too. So bringing in ritual, bringing in work around the wheel, and ways that we can kind of link our businesses and our leadership up to both the cycles and seasons of nature, but also with self-care and ritual, which my intention is that through doing that, we create more meaning and more joy and more fun and more pleasure in our life's leadership and business. So you can go to strongbodylove.com, and at the bottom of the home page, there's kind of a sign up to receive Ashley's seasonal ritual kit, and it includes a altar making magic PDF and a couple other kind of fun things to do to start working with the seasons in that way in relation to your business and leadership. So that's one way that you can stay in touch. We're also in enrollment right now for the Solstice Sisterhood, which is it's the Solstice Sisterhood Leadership Mastermind. So it's a business and leadership mastermind working with the wheel of the year and the cycles and seasons of nature. But also we're talking a lot about conscious money mindset, working with money, and getting our work out there on larger platforms, like I said. It's just so much stuff in that. So you can go to solsticesisterhood.com to learn more about that. It's SOULSTICE, sisterhood.com, and learn more about what this year's cooking up. So super excited about that. And just, we do lots of fun things. So keep in touch, and would love to, be available to answer any questions also with my email. So you can go to ashley@strongbodylove.com for that if you want to connect with me personally too. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ashley. And I can obviously attest to the work you do, because I was in your community for 2 years. It was because of you and your community that helped me to flourish into where I've been going recently. So I want to just honor you and offer that gratitude for welcoming into your community. It was truly a catalyst for a lot of things that I'm up to now. And the one thing I wanted to share with everybody here is that Ashley holds just a really non-judgmental, safe space. So everything that she offers is really just holding the space for you. And it's a really great opportunity for you to tap into your why, the meaning, and see what your leadership looks like. So anybody that is interested and I'll make sure that that content is listed so that you can find it as well when I post this video. Obviously we're moving into that busy time of year. So any of you that aren't part of my tribe, I'm gonna put the link up. I share, similar like Ashley said, she shares these rituals and these techniques. There's certain things that I share with my community through email that I don't share anywhere else. I like to honor that space that I have with my community, and I'll have all that info to join the Tracy's Total Wellness movement if you're not on it already, as well as my free holiday stress challenge. It is coming up again. It is my 3rd year running it. It's a 10-day challenge from December 9th to the 18th on the practice of mini ritual and how to tap into this, all the things we've been talking about, your sacred space, your self-care, your deep why, the rhythms of nature, how to stay grounded in that when society is really asking you to rev up. That's right. And burn out. And the holidays are about joy and gratitude and love. And when we can find ritual and find ways to create sacredness in that, we can function more optimally. So it's an easy, fun challenge for any woman out there that just wants a little bit more friend power over willpower during a busy time of year. It runs the statistically 2 most stressful weeks of the year, the 2 weeks leading up to Christmas. And it is an easy, fun, just as Ashley's approach, easy, fun way for us to enjoy what the holiday season is meant to be and let go of stressors that just don't serve us so that we don't come burnt out and judgmental and ashamed in 2020. We come into 2020 grounded, nourished, and empowered. And Ashley and I both are on a mission to do that. So check her information out. My information will be listed as well. And I look forward to any of you women being on our next Unapologetic Woman Hour. And remember, just be you, be unapologetic, and create a ripple effect of love and empowerment. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Be well.
Bye, everyone.